What's up, guys and gals? Welcome to the Nerd Castle Weekend Review. My name is Splattercat. Stoked to have you here today as we hang out for a little while. I love doing this series. It was funded by our Patreon supporters, so thank them. It's because of them that we hang out every single weekend and talk about the stuff that's going on the channel. And honestly, I enjoyed it. It gives me a chance to let you guys in on some of the organizational stuff that happens throughout the course of the week and kind of where I'm planning on going versus where I am, etc. And so anyways, right now there are things to talk about. I debated briefly only doing the weekend reviews when there were things to talk about. I've decided instead that bi-weekly actually seems to be the most efficient way to do it. Doing it every single week, it's rare that there's something different happening each time. And so I feel like sometimes I don't have like any new news for you when I come back on the weekend review, but I'm supposed to be talking about the channel, and so I'm like lost and confused, and I'm just like, I don't know. And so anyways, I'm probably going to do it every other week from now on. That seems like the sweet spot where every 2 weeks there's always something new happening here. And so I figure I'm going to try that out for a little while. Welcome on back, though. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this week there's a lot of things to talk about because there are going to be some changes coming up on the channel. I know some people aren't going to like that, but it is what it is. This next 2-month period has a really, really busy AAA schedule, and indie gaming right now is not floating the boat. And what I mean is it's not even like a pecuniary thing for me. It's just there are no indie games right now that are super interesting. And so, like, even if this wasn't my job, I have nothing to put up on the channel right now. And so over the course of the last couple days, I've been kind of looking at old games. I've been looking at AAA titles to sort of fill in those gaps. Because some things are going to be going, some things are going to be staying, some things are going to be getting retrofit. So let's talk first about Rebel Galaxy. You know, Rebel Galaxy is getting a little bit repetitive for me. I like the game for what it is. But by the time you've played about 10-15 hours, it seems like a lot of the objectives in that game sort of focus mostly on you destroying stuff or just like ferrying things all over the system. And so I'm thinking I may not actually finish Rebel Galaxy. And I know people are going to be upset by that, but I've just found myself the last couple episodes that I've recorded being just bored with the repetition of all of it. Just being like, oh look, we got another mission to go kill a guy. Well, I guess I'll go and do that then. But I can feel the spirit sort of draining out of me. So rather than running this thing through the dirt, I'd rather stop at a high point because I do think that it's a good game. I just think that its repetitive aspects are starting to get to me. And so we're probably going to be leaving Rebel Galaxy behind fairly soon. It will more than likely be replaced by Fallout 4, I think. Maybe 4? I said that like a fart comes out when it's questioning. We're just like, Either way, I might replace Rebel Galaxy with Fallout 4. That's what I'm thinking for right now. Or I might replace it with the new Anno game, the 2205, or whatever the new Ubisoft Anno game is that's coming out on Monday. That or the other. I'm not totally sure. Like I said, there's lots of stuff coming up, so I'm going to be shifting things around. I actually sort of feel the same way about Deathwatch. I think Deathwatch is one of those games where I've like had my fun with it now, but the missions as you go in are mostly like the same thing. They do get a little bit more difficult, but I'm actually a little bit shocked to find that I have to go back and grind in order to make the game work, and I just have no interest in doing that. And so I may leave Deathwatch behind in order to play Fallout 4. So I think Rebel Galaxy might be replaced by Anno, and I think Deathwatch may be replaced by Fallout 4. Planet Base, I finished recording Planet Base. So Planet Base is completely 100% done. I did all the milestones and all the goals for the first map that we had played. We had finished it off. And so with that, there's not much to talk about right there. I do think public interest is dropping, but Planet Base is one of those games that even when, so the last couple episodes, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a spoiler right now. They're not going to be super entertaining. They're not going to be super good gameplay either because it's mostly me. There's a building cap that you can't build any more buildings once you get to a certain point. And so that being the case, I start going back and I start retrofitting things and moving things around to make them more efficient and stuff like that. So I basically spend like 6 episodes just destroying buildings and then like moving them over here and then rebuilding on this side and then moving over here. And each time I demolish a chunk of the base, we have like extinction patterns and stuff like that. Loads of people die of starvation, but it's just like, listen, you got to break a few eggs to make a really, really beautiful Colorado omelet, okay? It's got to happen. Which, by the way, the Denver omelet and the Colorado omelet are both. I do like California omelets. Don't get me wrong. My love for avocado is such that, you know, California omelets really, really get me going. But Denver omelets and Colorado omelets, whoo, so good. Make your eyes roll back with just the meaty deliciousness of them all. Especially the ones they have at IHOP. Oh my God, IHOP, so good. I love IHOP and Denny's. I like all those random little diners that truckers used to stop at. I've noticed that they've retrofitted them all now, though. They've moved away from like that trucker diner feel. IHOPs and Denny's now very much like they've cleaned them up and they've Starbucks the hell out of them. So now they have like wood paneling on the walls and they look all fancy and they got like brass fixtures and stuff. I think everybody's just copying nowadays. They're just copying the Starbucks model and hoping that it takes their old franchise and makes it look new and modern. But like, ooh, there's no lighting so you can't see properly. Aren't we super cool? Get the kids with the slouchy beanie hats to come in and buy our stuff. But anyways, what was I talking about? I was talking about Death Watch and Rebel Galaxy and Planet Base. Rebel Galaxy as a whole, I like the game. I really sincerely do. I do think it's a good game, but I think my initial response of like, this is the new Freelancer was wrong. I think there are several aspects that distinguish Freelancer from Rebel Galaxy and make it a better game. I feel the same way. I think X3 is a better game than Rebel Galaxy. Rebel Galaxy is kind of a one-trick pony in a lot of ways, where they've omitted a lot of the exploratory aspects of the game, and I think that hurts the game. And instead of going with predetermined events that you will stumble across, because in Freelancer, the galaxy is the same every single time. In X3, the galaxy is the same every single time, but they're these massive galaxies that you can just wander through. I mean, I remember looking at a map of X3 the first time, and it had like all the secret ships hidden on it, and it had all the little areas where there was Easter eggs and things, and you were like, I don't even know what I want to do right now because the map is so big and inclusive that I don't even know where to start. I don't have much money, I don't have a good ship, and I like that feeling of just being lost in the galaxy. I think Freelancer had the exact same feeling where the galaxy was huge, and if you didn't want to do missions, you could just fly in a direction for a while, and you could find gear and treasures and things that you weren't supposed to have yet, and the game would allow you to just sort of find things earlier than you were supposed to, whereas Rebel Galaxy feels very carefully curated, and they've replaced those exploratory instances with random events and distress beacons as you fly around, and for me, that's not quite as fun. I like the feeling of just like flying out into the unknown and finding nothingness or finding somethingness, but that feeling of just like not knowing what's around every single, random asteroid field is a cool feeling to me. I like that a lot, and I think that's what Rebel Galaxy lacks. I think the game definitely feels kind of like a console. Actually, it kind of reminds me of Dark Star 1 in a lot of ways, where it's a good game, but it's not quite enough for the people that are actually into space sim, like sci-fi exploratory games. Like, it's so close, and yet it's not quite there. And so I think the repetitive aspects of it are kind of getting to me for right now, and so I'll probably shelve it, just because I've come to the conclusion, lately I've had like a difference in the way I used to run my operation completely and totally based off metrics, like whatever paid the bills. If I was enjoying a game but it wasn't doing very well, I'll probably shelve it and go do something else. Right now, I've been ignoring my metrics for upwards of like 40 days now. I haven't looked at my numbers. I haven't paid attention to them. I'm doing this on purpose to purify my mindset. When I first started out, I didn't look at my stats, ever. I just put stuff up on YouTube, and I just had fun with it. And I've noticed that since I stopped staring at my stats and like worrying about whether bills are going to get paid or anything like that, it's become a lot more pure, and I'm starting to get that feeling back from when it used to be a hobby. And so I'm sticking to that as much as I possibly can. And so when I say that I'm getting rid of series now, usually it's going to be, at least with my current mindset that I've been trying to, really cultivate and craft, it's because I'm not enjoying them anymore. When I'm not enjoying them, I feel like I'm putting on a front, and I feel like I'm faking, and I'm just being like, making jokes about dumb shit because I can't think of anything constructive to say about the game. And so when things come and go, just be aware that maybe I might not be enjoying the game quite so much as I was 10 episodes ago. You know how like sometimes you get like halfway through a game, and you're like, yep, that's enough, and you just go do something else? It's the exact same way for me. I'm human just like all of you guys are. So anyway, sometimes I just kind of get to a certain point and I'm just like, meh. And that's actually, I've really been surprised how I've been feeling that about Rebel Galaxy. Death Watch is the grinding that I don't feel like doing. So Death Watch, I don't feel like going back and just passing turns on Overwatch, farming mobs in early missions just to get XP. And so I feel like now that I've seen the game, I do think that Death Watch is a pretty flawed game. I think that they could go back through it. I think they could balance the game a lot better for a PC audience. I think that it still smacks of a lot of those mobile game type aspects that are supposed to push people towards a cash shop, except now there is no cash shop, and they didn't really supply you with the way to get around the cash shop mechanics aside from just like going back and playing old missions over and over and over again. And I think for some people, unlocking new Marines and seeing new chapters and leveling up guys and trying to get the best skill sets that you can, I think that will be enough to keep them going. But for me, it's all about the storyline. I like the Warhammer universe, and I want the lore, and the game has been light on that so far, and so I'm thinking we've done I think I've recorded about 20 episodes. I'll probably leave it there once we run out. I may run it a little bit longer, but I don't know. There's a couple of games that I'm looking forward to in 40K, and this was just kind of like a stopgap. I was playing it because it's a 40K game, and I really, really wanted to play it, and I had a good time with the first 10 to 11 episodes, but now I'm starting to find that I need to go back and just like farm and grind in my free time, and I'll be honest with you, I am one of the most biased people ever towards farming and grinding. Like, I'm of the opinion that there is no excuse for you to ever farm or ever grind in any video game. There's always a more engaging way that you could draw the player into the game. I don't care if you're farming for something that's really, really rare, or if you're farming for something that most players are not supposed to get. It's just the sort of thing that I feel like it's an old mechanic meant to extend the life of a game that otherwise did not have enough content to get you there, and it should just be omitted now that we have a game development world where you can make the content with the depth that you want. It used to be limited by the size of the chip that you could put it on. Nowadays, just make your game bigger. Everything's digitally distributed anyways, so just make the file size larger and just keep going with whatever it is. And people just like deal with the long download. I know I will. And so anyways, grinding really gets to me. Grinding really grinds my gears, and I'm not a fan of it at all. I hate it. I just never liked it in EverQuest. Never liked it in Final Fantasy XI, but I did it because all my friends played, and it was a way to hang out with them, you know, when not hanging out with them. But just never been able to do it in the absence of, like, a big friend group. And so that's probably Deathwatch. There's another game that's coming out pretty soon from Cyanide, where it looks kind of like Space Hulk, but it's first person. Like, you are the Terminator walking through the halls, and, like, it looks like you can give command. I think you're like a Terminator sergeant or something, and it looks like you can give commands to people so that they will take certain positions, but you're like first-person Space Hulk. It looked pretty legit. It's Warhammer Death something. I can't remember what it's called, but, you know, it's coming. It's from Cyanide Studios. They have it on their website. You can find it there. Really looking forward to that one because I was like, oh, it's first-person Space Hulk. Finally, another... They make so many turn-based games for Warhammer 40k. Like, there's so many strategy games when all I really want are more games like Space Marine. Like, Space Marine was so legit. If you were into Warhammer 40k, it was the best. It was just Warhammer 40k porn for the Warhammer 40k nerd. The whole time you're just like, oh my god, he got him with the chainsaw. Now with the thunder hammer. Like, the entire game was just me salivating over ridiculous 40k porn. And so, and I don't mean that like in the rule whatever. No, not like that. Not like in the 1D4chan way, like cat girls and all that shit. No. I'm talking about just like cool shit happening in the Warhammer 40k universe that you're just like, ah! Every time something awesome happens. And so, I want more action games for Warhammer 40k, but I don't know why they seem so reluctant to do it. It's a world where you could definitely have action. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Eldar, but the Eldar are all over the place in terms of their, like, gameplay. They're super speedy, they teleport, they have warp spiders and all kinds of... You could make a badass action game set from the perspective of an Eldar warp spider or whatever. Or even from one of their witches, where they can just, like, cast badass spells that cause people to sizzle to death. Like, there's so many cool things they could do with action-related stuff in 40k, and they never do. They just make more strategy games. I don't know, just a little hint right there. I'd love to see more games like Space Marine. I mean, the whole, like, quick time ending of the game aside, the rest of the game was dope, so there you go. You have no doubt noticed by this point that the Long Dark is back up and running. That was a decision that I did not make lightly. I really pondered that one because we already have a huge breadth of Long Dark gameplay on this channel, and I don't like to hyper-focus on any one thing for too long. But Long Dark is just a game that I love so much, and I've wanted to go back to it so badly because there's been so many content updates, and there's just things that I can't get done during a stream that I can do with a series. And so I buckled down, I recorded it this week, I was very, very excited about getting into it. My enthusiasm, I think, was pretty palpable when I was making the videos. I kept it low-key because it's not a game that requires an explosive personality, but at the same time, I felt like I was pretty enthusiastic when I was covering it. Looking forward to getting back into the game and seeing all the new stuff. I think that instead of going to, we always do, so we do Mystery Lake, and then after that we always do whatever's through the little tunnel over there, the valley area where they've got, or maybe, I don't know, whichever's the place where it has like, it has the little hangar that's been converted into a garage, and it has the house in the middle of the lake with the ice with the bear on it. We always go there second. I'm probably not going to go that way. Instead, I'm probably going to go through the dam. There's a back door in the dam now that takes you to one of the new zones, and I might go that way just to see what happens. Looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I may set our base up in the dam. I've actually been strongly contemplating doing something a little bit different this time around and making a base inside the dam because I've never done it before. And so maybe I'll do that. Not really totally sure how I want to play it for right now, but I think the series is going to be a lot of fun. I was very pleased with the reception that it got. I think that it's going to be a series that will be carrying for quite a while. Hopefully we won't have any accidental, like, fire-related deaths in between here and the end of the series. I would really love for this to be like a 200, 300-day run where we just go, you know, and we just see how long we can make this thing last. The game is a blast. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite indie games of all time alongside the Long Dark. I'm sorry, alongside This War of Mine. That's another one that I always think about when people are like, what indie games are fantastic? This War of Mine is always one that comes to mind too, because what a fantastic game. What an absolutely enthralling title. a game that had like replayability. Like even if you had memorized how to beat the game over and over again, you still wanted to play with all the people so you could learn their life stories. The characters were very real. Some characters broke down as time went along, whereas some characters built up. The difference I would give is kind of like the cook, I forget his name, Bruno, versus the big like buff guy with the busted leg. I forget his name too. The guy with the busted leg starts out broken, and he fixes himself as the story goes along, and he finds his inner strength, and he learns to like live through horrible things and keep his chin up. Whereas the cook slowly like breaks down over time, and things just get worse and worse and worse for him. I liked how the characters dealt with the situation in different ways. Some by becoming very, very strong, and some by becoming very, very weak. Because human beings react to stimuli like that very, very differently. Every person collapses or builds up under pressure in a different way, and it just kind of depends who their influences are and how their life is played out. Wow, I got way off subject right there. Kingdom! Fantastic game. I wish it had more content. Kingdom's one of those games where you get to the point where you just start to get really in love with it, and then it runs out of content. And that, for me, is just the worst, because I'm so into that game, and then I was really enjoying exploring the world and finding out what all the things did, and, like, you know, putting coins in statues and just, like, waiting to see what happened, and playing around with all the different, you know, lore inside of the game, trying to figure out what the point of the game even is, you know? Because they don't tell you what the victory condition is. You just kind of play and you figure out along the way. And really, really, really would like to see the development team put in 2-3 big content patches. I know it may not be fiscally viable for them, but I really think it would be just a tragedy to not develop this game a little bit further, because they're really onto something with this title. And I think if they just sat down and added more shrines and more like random stuff that you stumble across and more like random events and things like that as you played the game, they could really, really, really make this into a title that would live forever as far as indie games are concerned. It's already a very, very good game, but with I think maybe 3 to 4 big content patches where they just add more stuff, because the mechanics are sound already. There's enough randomness to keep you frustrated and just like, when things go wrong, and want to try again in the hopes that those things won't happen, and yet there's enough things inside of your control to where you can feel like sometimes you didn't prep right and you lost because of that. I think they got the balance about right, but they really need more content. I love the game. I really, sincerely, I'm really, really infatuated with the title, but I would love to see more content. I think that's the difference between them making a good game and like a critically acclaimed game. And so I'd love to see it. I don't know if it'll happen. If it doesn't, then I really think they're missing out on an opportunity here, though. Just one man's opinion. Just things that I think about along the way. But anyways, let's talk about future plans, because that just about covers everything that we've got going on for right now. Going back to the list of content, last week we did the Brigador Weekly Indie Newcomer. It's kind of like a battle mech, battle tech, very, very cool sort of game that I actually enjoyed quite a bit. I like the idea that they're running with. I think they need to come up with some kind of progression in order to make the game function long term, but they said that they're adding that with the final patch before it releases to Steam, so I'm going to keep an eye on it, watch out for it. This week we will have taken at this point a look at Pulse, which is an indie game that I played around with. Very, very short little game, kind of an artsy-fartsy psychedelic type game. Don't know if it's going to be for everybody. Check out the review. That'll already be up at the time of this posting. I'll put a link for you down below. But anyways, aside from that, what's coming up in the future? We got Fallout 4 coming up in the future. Planning on hitting that one super hard. There's Anno coming up in the future. That's going to be on Monday. Anno I'm not really so sure about, because I am not good at the Anno games. I get very overwhelmed with like the stock buying, the building versus the warfare and stuff. I get very, very flustered, and I just have trouble with it. And so it might just be a short playthrough that we have a good time with. I'm hoping it's going to be fun. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I left it downloading all night because the file size was pretty large. It's installed right now. I'm going to actually work through the weekend. Usually I take my weekends off. I'm actually going to work on Sunday. I'm going to play the game all weekend as much as I can. And then on Sunday, I'm going to sit down and record it once I've played the tutorials and once I've made myself familiar with the game. I'm going to cut a couple of episodes. I'll put those up on Monday for the release. I'm hoping people will like it. I liked the last Anno game, how you had to decide if you wanted to be like an eco-terrorist or if you wanted to be the guys that like cultivate the world and kind of live in harmony with nature, or if you wanted to be the people exploiting things to make money. I liked that, and I felt like it was cool when you made a blank map and you were jockeying with other people, just trying to make sure that your motives and their motives didn't clash into each other, while at the same time trying to work in tandem towards the same goals that you shared in common. I liked that about Anno. I don't know, so we'll be playing that. Near the end of the month, we've got... November's really, really, really shallow, so as far as games are concerned. If I can't find anything, I was strongly debating doing an Underrail playthrough, but I really wanted to wait until Underrail was done to play it. I didn't want to spoil it for myself. Or a System Shock 2 playthrough. go ahead if you want to. Leave me, your preference down below. System Shock's a game that I never played. I've played it, actually. I've never beaten it. I've made it pretty far in System Shock, but I never beat it when I was younger. And so I've always wanted to play System Shock 2 on the channel. This might be the perfect opportunity, but old games can be kind of weird on the channel. So I never know quite what anybody wants to see when it comes to older titles. Those are the 3 that I have on the docket right now. So there's Under Rail. I might wait till that actually releases, though, in its 1.0 version before I play it. There's going to be System Shock 2 that I've been debating. And then aside from that, that seems about right. That seems about right. I think System Shock 2 is the one that I've been seriously contemplating. But either way, we might have to fill in some space with an older game as we go the next couple weeks, just because November is not looking like a good release month as far as indies are concerned. It is a good month for AAAs. But that's all that I've got to talk about today. Thank you for supporting the channel enough to where I can do this series and spend the time editing and putting it together. This series is entirely in thanks to the Patreon donators that made it happen. If you wanted to support the channel, you can do that through Patreon. Obviously, I'll have a link for that down below. There are lots of different goals that you can hit on there. And so that's going to be it for right now. I will see you all in 2 weeks with more updates as to what's coming, what's going, and what's happening. Have fun out there, everybody, with gaming. It's always a pleasure to talk with all of you. Hi to everybody.